Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drayon, and welcome back to Pathfinder Hero Frame, where we take a look at the ancestries within Pathfinder 2nd Edition and see what the lore says about creating a character for your next game. This is just a basic rundown of character creation. What would Paizo recommend, and what are the other options that you could use based on the lore of that ancestry to create a basic character. And today we are going over the Kashrishi, small bipedal rhino folk with a crystalline horn and some insectile features. This ancestry is said to have strong psychic abilities and are excellent empaths, to the point where there have been two misconceptions about them. The first being that they are able to control the minds of others, which they can't. They can't control minds unless they're a very powerful psychic. And the second is that the entire ancestry is a hive mind culture. Which again, it's not. They just have a strong sense of empathy. They are able to sense the emotions of others and therefore are able to better understand the world around them and are able to better understand each other. And so it is a lot easier to de-escalate conflicts, which according to the lore, they strongly dislike conflict because of these strong and negative emotions. Their empath is so strong it works like an additional sense, to the point where strong emotions is like a very awful smell, or a loud and uncomfortable sound. Strong emotions are somewhat harmful in a way. Now, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the Kashrishi to see what the lore tells us about making a Kashrishi character. Starting things off with the heritages, we have the Athamasi. These Kashrishi have 2 extra arms, allowing them to climb a lot easier than other Kashrishi. Next is the Lethosi. These are good swimmers, based off of giant water bugs. Next is the Nascent. They are supposedly underdeveloped Kashrishi that have extra potential that other Kashrishi just don't have. Mechanically speaking, you get 1 extra ancestry feat. Next is the Trogloshi. These guys live in caves and use their horns like light bulbs. And finally, the Xyloshi. They have strong neck muscles and use their horns as unarmed strikes. They are the most common of the Kashrishi. Alright, so here's some little bit of lore to help us understand some of the background choices coming up, as well as class options that we will be dealing with in this video. To quote, Kashrishi lack a clear concept of charity. Not because they are cruel or inconsiderate, but rather because their worldview is inherently inclusive of the people around them. Rare indeed is the Kashrishi who exercises casual cruelty or who leaves another member of the community in need. Such actions lead to emotional reactions that cause turmoil for all Kashrishi in the vicinity. Furthermore, Kashrishi have no natural enemies. They host pirates and merchants with equal hospitality, so long as the hospitality is respected by the guests. While Kashrishi have exceptionally tolerant of the quirks of other species, they draw a hard line at anyone bringing outside conflicts to their communities, because they cause such high emotions. And again, that causes turmoil for the Kashrishi. More than one canny pirate captain docks their ship at a Kashrishi island after a particularly heated conflict, knowing the pirate hunters and military vessels seeking them won't encroach on Kashrishi lands. Escaped criminals hoping to find a new lease on life might also hide in a Kashrishi community, doing whatever they can to assist their hosts until whoever is hunting them gives up the chase. Because again, they will cause turmoil for the Kashrishi, and whoever is chasing the person who came to them is going to cause conflict, which they don't want. So they will kick out the quote-unquote intruder. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the backgrounds. Paizo recommends these for backgrounds: the artisan, the emissary, the fortune teller, and the herbalist. Going over the extensive lore of the Kashrishi, I would also recommend the following: Animal Whisperer, Crystal Healer, Curandero, Deep Sea Diver, Farmhand, Fight Breaker, Foreign Diplomat, Inlander, Jeweler, Mystic Seer, Root Worker, Sailor, Scout, Undersea Enthusiast, Weaver, and Wildwood Local. For classes, it is recommended to go with the Bard, Champion, or the Psychic. Now, before we get a deep dive into the different classes for the Kashrishi, I do have a couple recommendations. While it is stated that Kashrishi will rarely cause cruelty, I think that a Kashrishi villain idea could emerge. I don't see many Kashrishi becoming villains because, once again, they do not like these strong emotions. And becoming a villain can cause strong negative emotions in others. This is the exact opposite of goblins, who are going to cause conflict because they are inherently evil. The Kashrishi are inherently good or neutral. So for a Kashrishi villain to occur, there would have to be various complex and specific circumstances, and I have two ideas for a Kashrishi villain. The first is a Kashrishi focused on tyranny. To take control of the populace and have an iron fist over them. For an example of this type of Kashrishi, I would like to turn you to the Justice League animated series. In the episode where the Justice League go to an alternate universe where that Justice League had taken over the world and had become the Justice Lords. They took all the villains, lobotomized them, and put them in a mental hospital. And future criminals, quote-unquote, would instantly be detained and arrested. I think a Kashrishi villain would fit this mold. Under their rule, if you were to cause negative emotion, you are seen as a criminal. Doesn't matter what you did. You could do something as minor as refusing to pay for your stupidly expensive dinner, like in that episode. You're going to get arrested. You are causing turmoil. You are a criminal, according to this Kashrishi. This Kashrishi is a tyrant and will use their abilities to snuff out any and all negative emotion. Now for our second Kashrishi villain. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's a misconception among the Kashrishi, and that is that they can control minds and are part of a hive mind. For this second villain, I would recommend using those misconceptions and making them reality for this villain. They can control the minds of others. They will subjugate you and make you part of the hive mind. Because after all, there can't be any negative emotions if everyone has the same exact thoughts. See, what was that horror series that I heard about? We Happy Few, I think it was called. Having a villain similar to that story could work for a Kashrishi. Again, these are the only two villains that I can see working for a Kashrishi. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the different classes and see what the lore says we can do for a Kashrishi character. Moving on, for our Alchemist, the research field of the Chirojian is going to be your most common, of course, but I also recommend the Mutagenist for the Nascent Kashrishi, the ones who are supposedly underdeveloped but have extra potential. I can see those type of Kashrishi going for the Mutagenist route to give themselves even more potential, mutate their DNA to unlock even more hidden potential within themselves, as a way to make up for being underdeveloped. Next is the Animist. The apparitions that I would recommend are the Custodian of Groves and Gardens, Steward of Stone and Fire, as well as Vanguard of Roaring Waters. Moving on to Barbarian, the animal and ligneous instincts are probably going to be your most common, but I also recommend Elemental, more specifically of Earth, Metal, Water, and Wood. Moving on to Bard, the Muse of the Polymath is probably going to be your most common, but Zoophonia is a close second. So I would recommend those two muses for any Kashrishi character. Next is your Champion. If you're going with the villainous route for the Kashrishi, I do recommend Obedience. But, like I said, it's going to be few and far between for a Kashrishi character. So for any other Kashrishi champion, I recommend the causes of either liberation or redemption. Next is your Cleric. Now, while it does recommend that any deity worshipped in Jalmira would work for a Kashrishi cleric, it also specifically recommends two deities. The Crystal Butterfly, which is the Kashrishi's version of Desna, and also Besmara, but not for the piracy, simply for the weather, the waves, and sea monsters. Next is the Druid. For your Druidic orders, I would recommend Animal, Cultivation, Stone, and Wave. Next is your Investigator. This is probably going to be the least likely class for any Kashrishi character, but I would still like to recommend the methodology of alchemical sciences. Next is the Magus, and for your hybrid studies, I would recommend either the Resurgent Maelstrom or the Twisting Tree. Next is the Oracle. For your mysteries, I would recommend Cosmos, Lore, and Tempest. Next, the Psychic. You have your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. For conscious, I recommend the Infinite Eye or the Silent Whisper. Though I can see Tangible Dream working for a Kashrishi character, I just don't see it being as prominent as Silent Whisper or Infinite Eye. Next is your subconscious mind. The artwork that I have used for the thumbnail could lean into the idea of precise discipline, but I can see emotional acceptance being more prominent among Kashrishi psychics. Moving on to Rogue, the Mastermind and the Scoundrel would probably be the more common rackets for a Kashrishi Rogue. Like I said, they're not going to be using these talents for evil. They're going to use these talents to better understand their opponent and try to de-escalate the situation. After all, they are using emotions to drive the conversation. Next is the Sorcerer. For your bloodlines, I would definitely recommend Aberrant as the most common bloodline, with Elemental being a close second. Once again, recommending Earth, Metal, Water, and Wood. Next is the Swashbuckler. For your styles, I recommend Braggart and Wit. Same reason as the Rogue Rackets. You're going to try to de-escalate the situation to avoid conflict, to avoid any further negative emotions that would cause turmoil. And finally, we are going with the Witch. Yes, finally. I couldn't really find a subclass of Wizard that would fit the Kashrishi, but if you can find one, let me know what you think a Kashrishi Wizard would study in the comments section down below. For your patron themes for a Witch Kashrishi, I would recommend Quiet Politic and the Unseen Broker. This is because the spells that it recommends are very similar to a Kashrishi Psychic, and I think you can easily pass off a Witch as a Psychic if you would go this route. In fact, the Quiet Politic might be for that villain Kashrishi that I mentioned earlier, the one who wants to subjugate the planet, to make everybody think as they do. The hive mind mentality. I don't see this coming up often. Like I said, it would just be for a villainous Kashrishi. I think other types of Quiet Politic patrons might go a different route. That was just an idea for a villain that I had come up with. But what do you think of the Kashrishi? Let me know in the comment section down below what type of Kashrishi character you would create. And until next time, this has been Drehan, and I am offline.